It's Eve 2020, May 11th, 1600. I am Meteorol. Let's see what's going on Eve Online. First stop is the Eve Online status monitor, the PCU for Tranquility server, which is I would call it the Western server for Eve Online. Yesterday, I think we broke like 41,000 concurrent members.
Very nice.
Yeah, by 41,500. This is good, and I'll put that in perspective. This is the entire lifespan of EVE Online, 17 years. And if you look right in the middle bar here between 40 and 50,000, the heyday of EVE Online's population was 2009 through 2013. It coincides with MMO's heyday. So really between 40 and 50,000 is a very, very full EVE Online. A few times it went from 50 to 60,000, but that was actually just a few weeks or months. So what we're looking at is a real return to form that we're starting to hit already.
It's probably worth mentioning as well that back in those days, there was probably a lot more rampant botting going on than there is now as well. So you could probably reduce that number by maybe 5 to 10,000.
Yeah.
Potentially, anyway.
So it's good. I think we're within striking distance now, especially this last couple months. Of course, everybody being indoors is helping that, but it's also summertime, which usually is offset. So don't really know what to make of it. We'll hope that it keeps going. I know that CCP is very positive in the direction of the numbers. I think they stated that, Hilmar did, and I think they're looking to really have a new, high water marks coming soon, probably by the end of this year. All right, so that's the PCU. Good job, over 41,000. Oh, and what's really cool, as we know, Korean time zone and Chinese time zone and Russian time zone leading into Australian time zone, when the West isn't playing, when Europe is asleep or at work, when Americans are asleep or United States citizens are asleep, that used to be just a dead zone because everybody was gone. But now it's pretty full, and that's pretty fantastic. So you're having more of around the clock activity, which is great. Okay, let's look at the dotland numbers. The most violent regions in Empire space is, we'll start with LowSec here. It's Lone Trek has 3,822 ships destroyed. The Forge in second place, 2,862 ships. And Sinklason, again, 2,446. Most violent regions in nullsec, or 0.0 space, is Pureblind with 1,175 ships destroyed, 822 pods. Delve comes in second place with 1,000 ships destroyed and 633 pods destroyed. And Providence, 808 ships destroyed, 433 pods destroyed. It's neat to see Providence there. I think we know of a fight that happened there. We'll cover that in just a second. Okay, more specifically, what regions are the most violent in the last 24 hours? Shintaht in Providence. We'll go there and look at that fight. That was 420 ships destroyed. And then you have the traditional LXQ, that is Horde territory, with 291 ships destroyed. And then in Pureblind, OTAC N8 saw 294 ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. LowSec, look out for these systems. Tama in the Citadel had 400 ships destroyed. Akidaga in Blackrise, 272 ships destroyed. And Amamaki 192 ships destroyed. Amamaki happens to be the traditional homeland of Pandemic Legion, and Waffles, one of the corporations associated with, well, it was a corporation, was an alliance, became a corporation into PL, and then is now an alliance again. And they are making a pilgrimage to Amamaki. Okay, last part of this is most violent systems in high sec for the last 24 hours. And this looks relatively normal. Jita had 702 ships destroyed. In second place is Narsia, 484 ships destroyed. And here we have Lone Trek in third place, 448 ships destroyed. So something went on in Lone Trek. Let's check that out. Here's the system of Airkyo. Looks like a fleet of Merlins. Well, I'm not seeing it if it's on here. What was it that created so much destruction? Because May 10th killboard looks like about 30 ships. I'm puzzled by that. So we'll chalk it up to a mystery. Somebody can fill me in on what happened in Airkyo. It's a high sec space, but looks pretty typical on the killboard. But Dotland has said that 448 ships were destroyed in the last 24 hours. I don't see them. All right, looks like a ton of rattings happening in Cobalt Edge, Mail Pass, Kabbalah Expanse, your general areas. They are ratting to the tune of 35,000 ships per 24 hours. Right now, Cobalt Edge has a lot of people ratting, or a lot of ratting being done by one person or many in TTAC 6. That's in the last 3 hours. You know, ratting is just like, doesn't seem like, I don't know, poor gameplay. All right, let's look at expensive ships that were destroyed. Over 10 billion or 10 billion or more ISK worth of value. Looks like Snuffed Out lost an Astero. Must be the cargo. Let's take a peek. Yeah, this guy got,
I think,
popped off a Jita.
I think the issue with Airkyo was potentially could have been fairly new characters not having APIs set up to go into the killboard.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So they're invisible to the kill board, but they're not invisible to Dotland.
Yeah, because Dotland will get the ship kills stats from CCP's like CCP's ESI stats. Although they don't actually showcase like a breakdown of who got killed with what and why, or with what and where, like, you know, it will showcase how many ships and pods were killed in a particular system.
Okay, so that Astero from Snuff, we could see that it was a chock full of implants. So that hurts. See 12 Squire capacitor management implants for 1.8 billion. Yeah, that sucks for that pilot. And don't know if all that equipment was just for him or his corporation. So that was Lowlife Corporation, part of Snuff.
Be right back.
We also have some, a Sixth Empire got targeted and blown away in Keepers, which is Canid. This was an arc that's Yeah, looks like some blueprints. And a broadcast node, which is used for building large structures. Wow, 500, 600 of those. That's like a billion, 1.2 billion in broadcast nodes. Ouch. Sorry about that, Sixth Empire. Morning, Fansui.
Morning.
1DQ looks like a jump freighter got taken out in Delve. Belonged to Goonswarm, which is natural since that's their headquarters. Looks like it's mostly the cost of the jump freighter. It's probably
I
trying
can't
to move
believe
some
that
stuff out.
killed by the police.
What's that?
I can't believe that Astero got killed by the police. That's sloppy.
Oh, that is an NPC corporation. I didn't see the purple tag there. So how is it that... Do they just have low
It's the
standing?
police.
It's
Those
the
police
police.
that snuffed out. They had low standing, low security status, etc. They're in Caldari space, and the NPC police did not like them. The thing about the NPC police is that they web before they scram, which means that you actually warp faster. So you should always be able to keep ahead of the police, especially in that Astero, which is align time fit, and Covops for that matter.
Given the time that the Astero was actually killed, and some reports of lag going on from the other Discord, I suspect it could be because of lag that they weren't able to, well, get their cargo safe.
I wonder if he would be reimbursed for that sort of thing if it was mechanical failure on the game part.
Yeah, if it's related to that, then it ought to be reimbursed.
All right, so the police will web you, which slows your ship down, which means that your ship only has to accelerate, well, to a lower degree before it gets into warp. So that's why it allows you to escape faster. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, the web to warp mechanic is a well-known thing. It's a bit of a quirk of the system, but the idea is you need to reach 75% of your maximum velocity in order to enter warp. And if you are already moving and then get webbed, your new maximum velocity is lower than it was before, and you are probably already at 75% the moment the web hits you, and then you should warp right away. But obviously, in the case of a server outage, that will not happen.
Yeah, you lose control of your ship. All right, let's see what else we got here. Kanaka in Black Rise. Dangerous system. Looks like a jump freighter got taken out there. A Nomad. And last in SeaTac Inn in Fountain, which has been a little bit of a hotbed. I think something's going on over there. I think it's going to heat up. Goonswarm Federation lost a Nyx to Snuffed Out. Let's take a look at that Nyx real quick. Okay. Don't see, there's some good stuff on it, but it's not unusual. Real quick, let's look at anything over 5 billion. Sometimes this yields...
Is that fit for a Nyx with the mobility rigs and the align time in the lows and the hyperspatial and whatnot?
Yes. What was going on with this Nyx?
Well, it looks like it's travel fit, but it appears to be rigged for travel as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the inertial stabilizer and the hyperspatial low slots that make it even faster. So this Nyx was meant to haul ass, and I don't know if that's a normal fitting for a Nyx.
I guess when you...
I think that's a quick response kind of flight out there and lab stuff, solo Nyx kind of thing. It's not crab fit. I mean, that's obviously not a crab fit. But I think he was using that to just, meme on people.
All right, well.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the guy knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, now because I've been to 1DQ and I've dealt with his rapid response. He's definitely one of the groups, well, the individuals in 1DQ that will undock and provide a response to, well, fight people there.
Okay, so that is Robin Zhang. Got zapped in his nicks, fighting Rose the Pug from Snuffed Out. That's a hilarious name, Rose the Pug. Okay, so there is a Tatara that was destroyed in the forge. Well, let's see. That was taken out by high-sec mercenaries. And you also had a Tatara taken out in outlaw space. Actually, that is wormhole space. That was taken out by MGLA. Okay, so those are the kills. Well, we didn't go over yesterday's kills because yesterday was Sunday and we had the Talking in Station show. But so let's go back to the 10th and see if there's anything there that was interesting in the 5 billion or over.
That Charon there, I can actually give you the first person perspective what happened because it was my corp.
The Bastion?
Charon, yeah,
Oh, you're from Fwaming Dwagons?
that would be me.
Oh.
Whilst roaming fountain space, we'd actually found that Charon had drifted off tether, and we managed to, well, we had a hick out, a heavy interdiction cruiser out, and we directly hicked it. While this was happening, I was a few systems away tackling a Thanatos, but we decided to go after the Charon first. And as to our surprise, it dropped a officer smart bomb along with a vindicator hull and some other things, and we managed to make it out with the officer smart bomb and the vindicator.
Yeah, here's
So
the
it was
vindicator.
quite a pleasant surprise for us, and we'll be making a visit to Fountain as soon as possible if this can happen more often.
If they keep alluring us. They keep luring us this way, yeah.
We're not quite sure why this happened. It doesn't. The freighter didn't even have low slots or anything. It was just a naked freighter with, well, billions worth of items in there. It seems it must have been somebody's ratting, salvage, and collection that he just allowed to drift off tether.
Yeah, accidental double click in the wrong space and you walk away and you come back and you're way off where you're supposed to be. Well, nice little prize for you. Let's see. Hamatar Pirat takes out a Tatara in Hamatar and Ivar. Recognize that system. And another Tatara killed in Kador in the system of Bordan that belonged to Weta Workshops, which is actually Peter Jackson's company in New Zealand. Makes movies, and that's their special effects shop. Fenrir is destroyed in Corazor. This is just freighters. And here we go. Fortizar in wormhole space belonging to dead people was destroyed by Unchained Alliance. That's what happened on Sunday.
Name checks out.
Code lost a pretty good capsule here in XGH, Tenerifis. The capsule had some implants probably because it was worth 5 billion. Let's take a look at that.
Looks like Kusion snagged the bowhead. A juicy one too.
Hold on, we'll get to that. Let's finish this pod that was killed. Code, it belonged to Code. It had high-grade crystals. And some bonus ones like this one here, Creo Drone Yellowjack Drone Turner. This pod had very, very expensive implants. I wonder what went wrong there. Picked off by Son of Stars. Yeah. Code guy lost 6 billion in a capsule. Okay, and finally, let's visit that. Where is it? Bowhead and Udama, tell me about that.
That Kusion kill on the bowhead. Yeah, so Kusion is a guy that multi-boxes like, I don't know, 9,000 tunes or so, maybe 9 million.
Yeah, we saw a
So I don't know.
demonstration.
He's usually got like, I don't know, somewhere between like 10 and 30 characters at once, I think is his numbers. And he just sits in Uedama all day and just, kills whoever comes by that he's able to kill. And this was a 15 billionist bowhead. Bowhead is a ship that carries other ships. This person, up until a couple days ago, was in my corp, but not
Oh,
when they died.
would you kick him right before he blew up?
No, I'm actually, I didn't even know that they left. I was about to look them up on Eve Who to see when they left, but it looks like this is their first activity after leaving. So good job.
Well, yeah. Well, you wouldn't have been able to protect him from doing this. You just would have advised him against it, I suppose.
Well, yeah, that's how you protect people from doing it. Wow. So they're Eve Who hasn't even updated the fact that they're not in the corp.
Well, he had, looks like some of the stuff that you guys fly, Lashak, Barguest, Marshal. Oh, the Marshal. That's where it
Yeah,
is.
no, that's not. We don't use Bargas. We don't use Marshal. We certainly don't use
James has
Marshals.
more money than everybody now. These types of kills he gets all the time. It's funny how you don't think about it, but man, the high sec ganking is one of the most lucrative things you can do if you catch the right guys at the right time. It's just crazy.
Well, the thing about right place, right time is that people say right place, right time, and that phrase is always accompanied with a shoulder shrug, and the implication is that it's beyond. Oh, that's two variables. Can't solve a mathematical equation with two variables. It's random. But the fact is that you can put yourself in the right or wrong place that you can control, and then you just wait for the right time. So Kusion is sitting there, and he's always in the right place, and the right time just happens all day long.
So this guy had a Marshal. That's not part of the stuff that you fly. What do you think was going on with this guy? He's graduating?
I think that whatever, yeah, so apparently they left our corp 50 days ago, 50, 60 days ago.
Oh, that's a while ago.
And whatever they were up to in the past 2 months, told them to fly through Uintama with a Marshal and a bowhead.
Well, he joined Defensive Order of Mayhem.
This is almost never a good idea. Like this
Let's
is
check out.
this is almost never a good idea.
Let's check out that new. Oh, Doom. This is not the old Doom. This is a new Doom. It looks like it's a brand new organization. Let's see what corporations. Yeah, so he joined a new team and he was on his way. Next Enterprise Inc. 180 members. Let's see where their background is. Yeah, these guys are coming out of Violente Fortuna and Goldfish. I think he joined a new group and was on his way to do some stuff. He probably still is, but he took a big hit right there because he was shipping some pretty expensive ships. Now, the Bowhead is a freighter, but it's different than most freighters in that it can carry prepared ships that are fit, ready for action. And one of those happened to be Black Ops Marshal, which is a rare ship.
The Marshal is the most expensive sub-capital hull in the entire game that is consistently available. There are more expensive ones that are not consistently available, like Alliance tournament ships and other rare things that will never be made again. But of all the ships that you can continually get in the game, the Marshal is the most expensive sub-capital, by
I think it's
head
a
and
6
shoulders.
bill hull, I think, typically.
Yeah, they've varied between 5 and 8 billion in the past year.
So this guy that flew with the Conclave 60 days ago moved on, which you should.
The Convocation.
Oh, shoot. Convocation. Moved on and joined a group that was just starting out and on his way, it looks like on a supply run of some sort. His bowhead got destroyed, which put a big mark on that alliance's kill boards. So that's not a great start if you're looking at kill boards, but at least he's out there doing stuff, which is good. Interesting.
It was a good day for Team Kusion.
Yeah. So he's Udama only? That where he sits?
That's where he hangs out. Doesn't move, doesn't need to. All the fish come to him.
We go out with him during Burn Jita, and he's very good at helping us to find targets and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
All right, looking
He knows
at
his stuff. Makes a lot of money.
cool. Yeah, we saw a video of him working, and it's frankly doesn't look like any fun, but some people like it. I don't want to control like 11 different ships to do a thing that a group should be doing, but there are people who do that and love it.
Well, I would replace the word should with could there. Because the should is kind of, it's a sandbox. What you should do is play the game.
Yeah. All right, so there's going to be a live stream on the 17th at 6 p.m. UTC. That is 1800 UTC. It's about Eve Echoes, so you should check that out. We'll keep plugging it this week. I go to Tweet Fleet still, but I really like EVE Online hashtag because you see stuff you wouldn't see on Tweet Fleet, which is neat. Blue donut with an Eve coffee mug. That's hilarious. Leeloo, remember her? She was CCP community dev. Very nice, very interesting. And I think her and Falcon were
CSM coordinators.
CSM coordinators, yeah. Among other things. So my characters won't get back, but otherwise I'm all set to return. Oh my god, she's coming back. My characters won't get their old names back for a few months, but otherwise I'm all set to return. Wow.
We're on the upswing. Everybody's coming back.
That's fun.
It's funny how that seems to be a common like sine wave pattern of people up and down in the game. They come and they go, and then they come back, and we're kind of on the. We're not in the. I guess we're in the trough. Is it dips and trough? What do they call it? Dips and trough. Whatever. We're at the peaks and troughs. We're at the peak now. Everybody's coming back, which is nice.
Well, I think if you play this game long enough, which I don't know, let's say it's about 5 years, you're gonna play it forever. You'll always come back, check on it. I think the real drop-offs, are the early players the first year or so. If they're overwhelmed or hit a stalling point or plateau too hard, they don't have all that investment in the game, so they probably will say, yeah, I could leave this game and never come back. But people have been playing for 3 to 5 years. Those guys are going to come back. They're going to check when things seem a little bit interesting. They're going to stick around. And right now, there's a lot of things that are interesting. Okay, let's see if we have any more.
I'm sorry, I came in late. Did you cover the Astra that Test lost?
Oh, hey, Leak. Yes. Did Test lost? No. Let's see. When was that?
Was this a notable Astra in some way?
Yes, actually. It's up in cash.
The Astra House?
Yeah, Astra House.
No, I don't see it. So it wasn't over 5 billion. Can you describe it? Or tell me what
system?
It's
so I'll kind of describe what's going on in the geography of cache in general.
Okay.
So Test is staging Test has two structures primarily on either side of NSH staging. One is in 2TAC2, and the other was in P7, which is literally the adjacent system to NSH staging. And it was an Astra that was very much a thorn in our side up until yesterday when we finally destroyed it.
What's form to fight you guys?
What side is? What side? You need to wear earphones so we don't get all that feedback. But what side is your side?
I'm with Null Seshnaya. I'm an Iron Guard.
Oh, okay. What was your question, Brisk?
What was it contested? Did they come fight you guys, or did they just let you blow it up?
They, I mean, they gunned it, but they didn't. They didn't actually have any. It was looking like they might form, and they just chose not to. There's so many. There's so many different legacy entities in cache right now that it is hard to say who should have formed for it or who didn't form for it.
Were you part of the 2-2 fight on the 10th between Legacy and Null Sectionire and
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
I heard about that fight. Somebody from NC was goading and threatening Pro God Legends coalition members to get him to join the fight.
Yeah. He. I mean, Pro God Legend, I think, was out of the fight pretty quick. Um, as I recall, the fight kind of went on our way there. Null Session I got caught with bad intel on a gate. We lost like 7 Macarials, and I think we lost something else, but I can't remember. And then Test and Legacy felt obliged to repay us the favor, and because I think the battle report that I saw, it was pretty even, all things considered.
The battle report should be in voice chat.
It was actually over it was over an iHub that we had refed and destroyed, and then put a new iHub up to basically block them from having an in-system Sino beacon.
This was in 2-2. The battle report's in the voice chat.
Yeah, I got it. It's up. It's 2-2 EWC in cache. Looks like 280 versus 300. Basically, the 280 is Test and Legacy, Evictus, Brave, fighting with the 300 is Fraternity, Pandemic Legion, Northern Coalition, Nullsec Nullsecnia Schulpen. So you were lied by NCPL PandaFam, basically, or they just happened to be there?
So that's where it gets complicated. We are allied with NC, and that typically will bring in other actors from the remainders of PanFam. The way that I view it would be that we're friendly in general with that whole group, so it makes sense for them to come and help us when we're getting beaten up by a coalition and a block that is literally 50 to 100 times our size. Because it's nice to have friendly neighbors instead of unfriendly neighbors.
Okay. So that's going to be an area that's going to be interesting. It's cache. It's being fought over, and now you have rather big groups attached to the fate of that region. I think also we're looking at Fountain is starting to warm up pretty good, and so is Providence. By the way, thanks, Leak, for that information. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Let's go to related kills in Providence. This is what we were seeing earlier, this Shintaht. We're seeing Severance. That's Provi block on the left there. And they are taking on Well, Dread Bomb, which I think is Sado's new group.
It's so there's a new group separated from Purple Helmets and Warriors, Wrecking Crew.
Wrecking Crew, yeah. Are they friendly still?
Well, they seem to be working together.
So, yeah. So, the Helmet Warriors with Sado's new group, Dread Bombs. I think he's the Suicide Kings is the corporation for Sado, right?
No. Stake would be Seto's new corp, but Suicide Kings has recently left Test Alliance to join Dreadbomb and Seto's new corp, and join Seto. From what I remember and what I know, the Suicide Kings was a capital and super capital group with fairly good logistics capability. So I think it's a huge boost to Seto's Dreadbomb group and their power.
Yeah, they're going to get supplied. I also see HTP in here, Honorable Third Party. Those guys are like, if I could imagine this in, early American terms, that would be like the colonists being guided by a few native scouts. So that's what HTP reminds me of. They're the native scouts in that scenario. They're deadly, and if they have people behind them, they're gonna catch and destroy things. All right, so that is Providence. Okay, that's what we're looking at today in EVE Online. I want to tell you that yesterday we had a fantastic show with some veteran EVE players that have returned to the game. We talked to UAxDeath, who was fascinating. Second half of the show was what we would call Storytime, where he talked about some of the early pivotal moments that shaped EVE Online's history. And so if you've had any interest in history, you should listen to yesterday's broadcast. It's already out on podcast.
It was a good show.
Thanks. We had Mr. V in the audience, which was really interesting to see. We had Grath with us, filling in a lot of stuff too. So those two guys were hilarious. Of course, you always have Elise, who knows a ton of history and just about everything else. So that was fantastic to get some of those memories up. I really recommend that show. I think it's actually a historic show because some things were revealed on it that were very interesting. Like, I'll just review it here, so in case you don't get to it. There was a deal made that UAX made with early Goonswarm. Actually, this was recovering Goonswarm. So they were very feeble and they were living in decline. This is before the CFC was formed. And there was a giant group that sat up there in Tribute and Vale and those areas, Branch. And they were the Northern Coalition, the true Northern Coalition. And at the time, a lot of people wanted to take them down. They'd been a target for a long time. So it was like an old empire. And they made an excursion into Russian space. So UAX took that reason and gave it to the other Russian groups at the time, like MacTep was an admiral for Solar Fleet, and and White Noise joined them as well. And so these three Russian groups combined were super tough with the industrial backbone of UAX. And they marched up north to destroy, and they hired, by the way, Pandemic Legion. And I think there was other groups in there too, like Raiden and massive heavy-hitting groups, marched on that old empire Northern Coalition in the north. And in doing so, and this was not made public before, UAX arranged with, I suppose, Matani to have him sit out and not defend Northern Coalition up there. And the deal was not public until yesterday. So the reason that's important is because UAX and the Russians, with their mercenaries, were successful in destroying the Northern Coalition and breaking them apart. And the natural inheritor of a lot of those corporations and alliances was Goonswarm. And so they formed the CFC out of the ashes of Northern Coalition. And that was a secret deal not to get involved. In return, the Russians, under UAX's leadership, stopped that decline and didn't run over the feeble Goonswarm at the time. So Goonswarm could have been destroyed or could have taken a different form than it has now, but that was the beginning of their climb to power. And it was an arrangement that UAX made, offered it to Mittani, and Mittani accepted. And it was a secret deal, so Northern Coalition members, not knowing that, didn't realize that they'd kind of been given up by Goonswarm. So changes history completely. What would have happened there had it been a public deal is that groups from Northern Coalition may have said, like, well, we've been betrayed by Goonswarm, we're not going to join them. And so the CFC may never have grown into what it grew into. And CFC was the precursor to the Imperium. So it's really interesting. Now, there may be more to that story because we only heard it from UAX and his
that's
perspective.
certainly an interesting version of the tale.
Yeah. So if you know about it, why don't you tell us what you know? Or you don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, there's
I live.
pieces of truth to many of those things, but it's not like we didn't go help the old Northern Coalition at the time. We definitely
You
did.
definitely helped.
It's just the old Northern Coalition was like incompetent at like a scale of incompetence that is pretty not clear to the modern times. And
Staggering would be my like description.
All right, so they weren't able to defend themselves or be helped by Goonswarm anyway.
Yeah, and to describe Goonswarm as feeble at the time is a pretty massive understatement. And to say that they didn't, PL and Raiden and Evoca, if I recall correctly, like that whole crew, they came right into Declan and tried to go after VFK.
Yeah,
and they were only repelled because they lost the battle, not because of.
That was the headshot of VFK that failed. That's what historically it's referred to as the headshot of VFK that failed, right?
Yeah, headed by PL at the time.
Yeah, because PL, it appeared, was like, we could still go on here, and the Russians said, nope, not part of our contract, don't go any further. And they went further anyway, but the battle didn't work out for them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I mean, I lived through that as a grunt, as a line member as such, so although I don't know the political machinations going on, like I do kind of, I do vividly know the experiences from a grunt's perspective going into those fights, and a lot of how I felt going into those the fights with Russians and with PL was we were consistently turning up late to the timers, and because of that, we were consistently getting the brunt of the bad mechanics of jumping in and just black screening for, half an hour at a time before we realized that we're actually dead and already back at station. Like that was a consistent thing when it came to fighting timers in Tribute.
Yeah, that's right. It was before tie-dye.
Well, it's funny because this is right before the kind of stratification of the blue balls or like kind of mentality, because this war was probably the last real war where people felt like every time something was attacked, you had to go defend it. There was no such thing as like a strategic withdrawal or a strategic blue ball, anything like that. The Northern Coalition was well known. If you attacked their stuff, they were going to come to defend it, regardless of how bad they would feed to do so. And that mentality really ended with that war because of just how catastrophic it was to their members and the participation that followed.
And I would like to point out that when we were getting into systems at those times, like we weren't arriving there as the timers were coming out. Like we were arriving there like half hour or so before the timer came out. But the issue was the fact that the Russian forces and PL and that kind of thing, they were arriving a good hour and a half before the timers came out. So they were all set up and ready. They realized that the best method for attacking was to basically get there into the system first.
Okay, well, I don't want to.
It didn't matter whether it was like 5 minutes before the timer or an hour before the timer. Like it was Well, actually, it severely mattered whether it was 5 minutes or half an hour before the timer, but you had to get in the system first.
If you like the old super cap, like there was 3 distinct super cap battles in this war, and there at least 2 of them are still on YouTube if I remember, and they were really interesting and interesting from the sense of like it was the first time you saw like any form of like mass titans, and you were seeing like I think there was 10 titan losses in 2 of the battles, which was massive for the scale of 2009/2010.
I don't remember the 3. I remember Uamon and the Valentine's Day Massacre.
So there was UAmon, 0201, and 0202. It was the same system for the second and third.
We need another story time with Billy on there too, and you guys, so we can do this again. Mr. V is in contact now, so we're going to try to get him and do a story time as well. Should be really cool to get more and more of this history and the granularity or the details of people's perspectives. So we had part of that yesterday on Talking in Stations. I urge you to check it out. But there was other stuff on it too that UA talked about, which was real life crazy stuff like the aluminum tycoon coming after him. He had to go to the FBI for witness protection. How the aluminum tycoon that was really angry about his stuff getting banned went all the way to Iceland in his private jet, pulled the consulate of, was it Ukraine or Russia, into CCP's offices. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was Russia. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And
good old Red Overlord.
The Red Overlord was that group. We also talked a lot about GigX, and there was a big free GigX campaign. And then we talked about just a bunch of stuff. So check out that episode. It's really good. It was also Olmeca Gold's goodbye episode, because he's going to take a break at least for a good long time while he takes care of real life that's changing for him in a good way. So it was good to get some perspective from him. And Jay Silva was there too, who's recently come back to the game. He was a CSM member for PL, went over to Goonswarm later, and he drained all the SP out of his character. So he's back to starting out and starting to build his character back up. Interesting episode.
You know, I'm kind of in 2 minds as to whether to get something off my chest regarding Gigos, or gigs as he's actually known.
Let's save it and
right.
for tomorrow. That'll turn into a big discussion, which could be good, but I think I want to look around. I want to say what. Hold on. I wanted to point out this really cool thing that McLeod did for our show, where he has an animated. How'd you get the character to animate? Because his head's moving around.
That was so cool, dude.
I mean, I'd done it before, but like Brisk kind of figured out how I was doing it and did it on the meta show as well. But like, you essentially have to for 2 characters, you have to basically have 2 clients set up ready to go, separate, and you essentially you find their character profile, and then view their full their full kind of character. And then there is an option in the options menu where you can green screen the background of it. So you green screen that, key it out, and then essentially I did a layering of 2 different game captures. Cropped the character out of one, used that as the background, and then cropped the cropped to just the character for the other one, and then I stuck it in front. That's essentially what it is.
Wow, it's awesome. I didn't follow that, but it's awesome. I'm glad we could influence the meta show yet again.
Yeah.
Guys,
it's a good technique. Like I'm not gonna say like, oh, Brisk copied me. I'm gonna
I had no idea you did it, so I
so
thought I came up with something.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sorry, dude.
I was shit. Somebody else did this. Damn it.
Yeah, I did it like 4 months ago or something like that. Like, I don't know. It was an experiment at the time. But kudos to you two.
It's rather clever.
Hey, great minds think alike, Rose.
Yeah, so 2 scientists in different parts of the world come up with the same thing. All right.
You can be Tesla. I'll be Edison.
Is there anything out there that I missed? I'm sure there's a lot, but anything else you guys want to talk about?
An Innerhell eviction was foiled.
Yeah, we had that battle report. Can you paste that again? I'll get it. What happened there?
Well, it was a C6 Wolf Riot belonging to Dead Star Syndicate. I'll just post the BR.
Was it 420?
I got it.
No, it was 5023. And you have Innerhell, Hull Control, Time Crit, and Innerhell's new international time zone group, exiled from. And it seems that there was a pretty serious fight over the Dead Star Syndicate faction fort, and it seems that Dead Star Syndicate, based on the rest of their kill mails in that very system, have staved off the eviction attempt. They've fought back, and with the other wormhole groups, X877, the Doom Musketeers, MCAV, Nameless Alliance, and wholesale operations, these groups have managed to fend off the eviction attempt. What's interesting is the mechanic of fighting in a C6 Wolf Riot wormhole system, and you can see this pretty clearly with the amount of legions, Cerberus, and sacrileges fielded, along with jackdaws. All of these are fitted with light missiles and rapid light missiles. And with this,
Wait, they brought jackdaws, really?
Yes, because it is a C6 Wolf Riot, and it gives small weapons a massive bonus.
Oh yeah, no, for the damage it makes sense, but it nukes your shields.
When you're able to shoot out over 110 kilometers away, you can use it to very easily nuke down some Logi and smaller ships, and the damage quickly builds up. Not to mention with the buff to Rage, it massively ramps up the damage and benefits.
Plus, if you're using jackdaws, you can skip into and across like grids very easily and be able to, quick lock fire salvos and then move. So your damage is particularly high. You've got a fleet comp that is extremely maneuverable.
You do
a
triple
lot of
damage.
You can do a lot of things. A lot of things with that kind of thing.
It's just a massive, massive fight over an eviction attempt, and we can see it's neck and neck even in terms of the ISK loss, and but in wormholes, it's do or die. You either get evicted or you don't, and they fought back with this combined group of various smaller wormhole groups that have some of them have been evicted by Innerhell and their groups before.
Well, Innerhell on its own can be overcome. It's when HK and Laserhawks join them, it becomes very difficult.
Yes, in this case, they've brought with them Stairway to Hell, which is the feeder corp, Hull Control, which I think is a German wormhole group, Duckling System, and Time Crit is another Russian wormhole group. I believe that's associated with Innerhell, and Duckling System is also somewhat associated with them as well.
Yeah, it looks like they were fighting over Marginis Fortizar, the old Galente one.
I think you mean the coolest one?
Yeah. All right. So that's it for today. We're going to go ahead and raid Torvald. And you guys can come hang out with us and Talking in Station's Discord all day long. Thanks, guys, for supporting us and for showing up. And thanks, everybody in here, for hanging out. Have a great day.